We're going to finish up this unit by solving some more multi-step inequalities. I'm going to go down and solve each one of these down the left-hand side, graph each one of them, and then we're going to come back and we're going to solve the ones on the right side that don't need to be graphed, just for some extra practice. So let's take a look at this one. Again, we're going to simplify the sides before we start solving anything. So we're going to distribute that negative 10 through. So that's going to give us a 50n. And then we're going to do the negative 8 times the negative 10, so that's going to be positive 80. Simplifying doesn't change the direction of the inequality, so we're going to keep that like it was. We've got a variable on both sides. We're going to move the smallest one. This is the smallest one for sure because it's negative. The other one's positive. So we're going to add 2n to this side. And while I'm getting the 2n over here with the other n term, let's go ahead and move that 80 to the other side. So we're going to subtract 80 on this side. Put those together, we end up with, let me show that we're adding all those in here, so we're going to cancel all of those off. So we're going to end up with 52n on this side. All we were doing is adding and subtracting, so that does not change the direction of the inequality. If we do 28 minus 80, that's going to give us negative 52. So we've got a negative 52 on this side. We're going to divide by 52 over here and 52 over there. We're dividing by a positive, so that doesn't change the direction of the inequality. So it's going to stay a greater than. So n is greater than or equal to, this is negative, and 52 divided by 52 is 1. So there's the answer right there. And then we're just going to graph this. So I'm going to put 0 right here. I'm going to circle the most important number on the number line. That's negative 1. We're going to go through and figure out whether or not we close this circle in or leave it open. This is a closed endpoint because it can equal that negative 1, so we're going to go ahead and fill that in. And then again, it's important to read this from the variable. This one is set up to read from left to right. So this would be n is greater than or equal to negative 1, or in other words, the answers are greater than negative 1. The answers are bigger than negative 1. So we're going to shade this direction right here. Put a little arrow there, do some shading, and we're all set to go. Okay, let's take a look at this next one. Again, we'll do a little bit of distributing through here and distributing through here. Looks like we'll have a like term to collect here, but let's go ahead and see what we've got here. This is negative 3n, then plus 9. The negative times the negative makes a positive, and then we've got the minus 6. Remember, we only distribute the negative 3 through to the two things in parentheses. We don't multiply negative 6 by negative 3 because it's not in the parentheses. We're just simplifying, so we're going to leave that the same direction. So we get a negative 7n and we get a plus 7. And then we're going to combine the like terms here, so we get negative 3n, and then that's going to be plus 3 greater than negative 7n, and then plus 7. We're going to move the smallest one now, so I'm going to move the negative 7. We're going to do that by adding 7n to this side. Cross that off there. We're going to subtract the 3 from this side. Okay, so that's going to move over there. So we end up with a 4n over on this side. Again, we're just adding and subtracting, so that doesn't change the direction of the inequality. We get a 4 over here. Just go through and divide by 4. Again, if you do this right, you're always going to be dividing by a positive number. You're not going to have to worry about changing directions of the inequality. So we end up with an n on this side, a 1 on this side. So n is greater than 1. So we've got a 0 here. Circle that most important number on the number line. Figure out whether or not we're going to close this in or leave it open. We are going to leave it open because it just says n is greater than 1. So we would shade to the right here. All right. Moving through these pretty quickly here. Let's do this one right here, just a little two-step one right here. So let's go through, and I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. That's going to give me negative x over 6. We're just subtracting, so that doesn't change the direction. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. And then remember, we did this before. We're going to get rid of the dividing by 6 and multiplying by a negative at the same time. So we're going to multiply by negative 6 on both sides. So the negatives will cancel, the 6's will cancel, we'll have an x right here. What we were multiplying by was a negative 6, so we do need to change the direction of the inequality. And a negative times a negative is a positive, so this is going to be a positive 6. So x is greater than positive 6. We'll go ahead and graph that right here. Let's see, this would be 6. We're going to leave this an open endpoint, and let's read x is greater than 6. Looks like all of these are greater so far. So we're going to go that direction right there. And then the next one, let's see, so we're going to move the 4 over to the other side by adding 4. That's going to leave us with 2 greater than or equal to, this is 4/5 x. And we want to get rid of that fraction in front of the variable, so we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. The reciprocal is 5/4. So we're going to multiply both sides by 5/4. Those are going to cancel. That's going to leave us with an x. And remember, we're multiplying by positive 5/4, so we don't change the direction of the inequality. Get that out of there. And let's see what we can do here. We can cross cancel here just a little bit. 2 goes in here twice, 2 goes in here once. So we've got 5 times 1 on the top, so that's going to be a 5. And we've got 2 times 1 on the bottom, so that's going to be 5/2. Again, no problem dealing with those fractions there. Remember, it might not be a bad idea to think about what this would be if we did change it to a mixed number. As a mixed number, this would go, 2 would go into 5 twice, with 1 left over, so that would be 2.5. So I'm going to put a 0 right here. I'm going to circle that 5/2, so I'm going to mark that. And then remember, it's going to be 2.5, so it's right in between 2 and 3. That just kind of gives people a really good idea that we know what we're doing. We are going to close this in because it can actually equal 5/2. And then let's read from the variable. If we read this from the variable, this is going to be x is, it's on the small point, so x is smaller than 5/2, x is less than 5/2. The answers are less than 5/2, so we're going to go this direction right here. Okay, I'm going to leave this last example right here for the end. There are some interesting cases right here, so we'll come back and we'll take a look at that at the end here. We're going to run through and we're going to solve each one of these just real quickly. So let's see what we get here. If I distribute through 4x minus 12, again, distributing doesn't change it. That's an 8x. That's going to be minus 32. I'm going to move the 4x over to this side by subtracting. We're going to move the 32 over to this side by adding 32. So this is going to give us a 20 on this side. Again, adding and subtracting doesn't change it, so it's going to stay that same direction. So we're going to have a 4x over here, 8x minus 4x. We're going to divide by 4, so we get x. Again, these steps that we've taken, none of them change the direction of the inequality. So there we go right there. And again, I have a tendency to make those look like 7, so I'm going to rewrite that one. So we're in good shape on that one. All right, let's take a look at this one. Again, we're going to distribute. So we have a 2x plus 4, not changing the direction of the inequality. That would be a negative 6x, and then we'd have a plus 18 there. So 2x plus 4 less than or equal to, let's put these guys together. This is a 1x minus a 6x, so that's a negative 5x. And then we've got that plus 18 there. Let's move the negative 5x over to the other side because it's smaller, so we're going to add 5x to both sides. That'll of course cancel it off here. We're going to subtract 4 from this side, so we're going to end up with 7x on this side. We didn't do anything that would change the direction of the inequality. 18 minus 4 is 14. Last thing we do, oops, thinking ahead to the answer, last thing we do is we divide by 7, so we get x is less than or equal to 2. So all set there. All right, let's take a look at these guys right here. Again, we're just going to distribute 15. That's negative 20v plus 5v. We're not changing the direction because we're just simplifying. So that's going to be a 3v plus 6. Again, we've got that 9 hanging on the end there. So let's see, we get negative 15v plus that 15. Okay, once we combine the two of those, that makes negative 15v. Greater than or equal to, we're just going to combine those two constants right there, so that's going to make a 15. So we end up with, well, let's see, this is a v, pardon my penmanship here, so we're going to add 15v on this side and add 15v on this side. Go ahead and show all my work on this one. If we're going to get the v's over here, let's go ahead and move that 15 to the other side. So subtract 15 from the other side. So lo and behold, now do be careful with this. There are a lot of people that get messed up here. So this would be 18v, and then on the other side, everything's gone. So don't panic or anything. These cancel to be 0, those cancel to be 0. 0 is just as good a number as anything else. All we need to do is just finish this off now. So we're going to divide by 18. Those are going to cancel, so this is going to stay the same direction. So if we read from the variable, v, or the answers are going to be less than or equal to 0. All set there. Okay, let's take a look at this next one here. Let's see, let's distribute through here. And I am going to grab a calculator for this one just to double check and make sure we've got this right. On a couple of these parts, I think we could probably do it without, but we'll use the calculator just to double check and make sure. Of course, we're not going to change this side at all, but we do need to figure out what 7.1 times 3 is. Probably 21.3, but let's just double check. 7.1 times 3. 21.3, and while we're at it, let's multiply that by -2. So 7.1 times -2, that's going to give us -14.2. So when we do that multiplication, we end up with 21.3 minus 14.2n, and then over here we have that 24.85. Okay, we now have a two-step equation that we need to finish off, so let's go ahead and move that 21.3. So I'm going to subtract 21.3 over here. That's going to get rid of it from this side. Subtracting doesn't change the direction of the inequality, so we've got this 14.2n. And again, we'll grab the calculator here. We're going to do 24.85, and we're going to subtract 21.3. We did have them kind of lined up here, so we were in pretty good shape. We probably could have figured that out in our heads, but let's go ahead and finish this off. We're going to divide by -14.2. Those are going to cancel. We are dividing by a negative, so we are going to switch the direction of that. And let's see what we get here. On the calculator, we've already got the 3.55 in there, so let's go ahead and divide that by -14.2. And let's see what we get here. -0.25. So -0.25. Okay, now that's going to take care of if you can do those, that's going to take care of the majority of the multi-step inequalities that we have. I do want to take a look at a couple of these. You may not have something like this on a test, but it would be a good thing if you could think your way through the answer on this one. Let's go ahead and try and solve this. There's nothing to simplify here, but we do need to get the variable on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 2x from this side and 2x from this side. Notice that those cancel off and those cancel off, and we're left with 4 is less than 6. Now, this is an inequality, and the whole point of solving an inequality is to get a number that makes it true. 4 is less than 6. Now think back. That is going to be a true inequality. There's nothing we can do to mess that up. 2x plus 4 is always going to be less than 2x plus 6. Okay? So what this means is we're going to say that there are infinitely many solutions. In fact, you could pick anything on the number line. So the cool thing about this is we would shade the entire thing from one end to the other. Everything would be shaded. Now again, that's kind of a complex thought process there, but hopefully that idea just kind of makes a little bit of sense. Think about it for a bit and see what that does. And then let's do this last one right here. So we're going to go ahead and distribute through. So this is going to give us 5 minus 10v greater than or equal to, this would be 12 minus 10v, and you'll notice that we're going to end up with something similar. If we try and move either one of those variable terms, let's add 10v to both sides, those are going to cancel off, and we end up with this. We end up with 5 is greater than or equal to 12. Well, is 5 ever going to be bigger than or equal to 12? There's no way we can make that true, so guess what we'd write on this one? If there's no way to make this inequality true, then we would write no solution. And so if we were going to graph this, we just have a number line, and there would be nothing that would be shaded because nothing makes that one true. All right, we've covered pretty much everything for that entire unit, inequalities and solving absolute value equations. So hopefully you're in good shape for the homework and get yourself ready for the test.